The Mandala Brahamana Upanishad, presented by Svayam Prakash Sharma, part 2 of 3. The second part consists of the second Brahman or the second chapter, where Narayana further elaborates about the antar, lakshya, that is Brahm chapter. Then the sage Yagyavalkya said to Narayana, who is the Purusha, the Lord of the sphere of the sun, Lord, I have heard the antar, lakshya, the inner vision of Brahm described many times, yet I have not been able to fully understand its true meaning clearly. Would you be kind enough to further explain this to me? On being so asked, Narayan, the Purusha of the sun, replied, Yagyavalkya, the antar, lakshya, the inner vision, is Brahm. It is the source of the 5 elements of earth, water, fire, air and space or ether. It has the luster, the brightness of many rays of lightning, and 4 seeds rise from that Brahm. Tattva, or the truth, manifests itself in the middle of Brahm. It is very well hidden and it is unmanifested. It can only be known by those people who have got on board the boat of knowledge. It is the object of both the outer and the inner vision. The whole world is absorbed within this Brahm. The universe is vast and partless. That is, it is one whole which does not have any parts. Above the universe is the sphere of the sun. In the middle of the sphere of the sun is the sphere of the immortal, nectar-like moon. In the middle of the immortal, nectar-like sphere of the moon is the sphere of the partless luster, the luster of the spiritual light of Brahm. It has the brightness of white light, like the ray of lightning. This alone has the characteristic, the special feature of the Shambhavi posture of the Eightfold Yoga. 3 kinds of sight are involved in seeing it, which are firstly Ama, the new moon, secondly Pratipat, the first day of the lunar fortnight, and thirdly Purnima, the full moon. The sight of Ama, the new moon, is the sight that is seen with the eyes closed. The second, the sight of Pratipat, is the sight that is seen with the eyes only half open. And thirdly, the sight of Purnima, the full moon, is the sight that is seen with the eyes fully open. Of all the 3 types of sight, it is the practice of Purnima, seeing with the eyes fully open, that a person should resort to. It is aimed at the tip of the nose. It is then that a person sees a deep darkness at the root of the palate. By practicing in this way, a light of the form of an endless sphere is seen. This alone is Brahm. This alone is Brahm, the Sat, Chit, Anand. When the mind is absorbed in the bliss that is produced in this natural way, only then does the Shambhavi Mudra or the posture of yoga take place. Only then does a person truly know the Shambhavi Mudra, the Shambhavi posture of the Eightfold Yoga. And Shambhavi alone is called Khechari. By practicing this Shambhavi Mudra, a person obtains firmness of mind. And through the firmness of mind so obtained, a person obtains firmness of Vayu. The following are the signs of this happening. First, it is seen like a star, then like a dazzling diamond, then like a sphere of the full moon, then like the sphere of the brightness of 9 gems, then the sphere of the midday sun, then the sphere of the flame of fire. They are all seen in this order. All that has been described so far is about the light in the Purva, or in the early stage, the first stage. Now we come to the light in the Uttar, the later, the second stage. This later Uttar second stage light is in the western direction. When a person sees respectively the luster of a crystal, the luster of smoke, the luster of Nad, Bindu and Kal, the luster of a star, the luster of a firefly, of a lamp, of the eye, of gold, and the luster of 9 gems. This alone is the form of pranav. Now we come to the procedure. First of all, a person should unite the pran and the apan. And then after uniting the pran and the apan, he should hold the breath in kumbhak. And then one should fix his concentration at the tip of his nose and make the shanmukhi. He should cover the 6 openings with the fingers of both his hands. It is then that one hears the sound of the pranav, in which sound the conscious mind then becomes totally absorbed. Such a person does not have even the hint of karma. He does not have even a touch of karma. Karma does not touch him at all. People normally offer morning and evening prayers at the time of the rising and the setting of the sun, and these constitute karma for a person. But for a person who has the knowledge of Brahm, there is no rising and there is no setting of the sun. For such a one, there is only the ever shining sun of Chit, the higher consciousness. This Chit shines forever in his heart. In the heart of such a person, the sun never sets, since he is a person who knows Brahm. He has no karma whatsoever to perform, since he has no need to perform any karma whatsoever. Such a person completely destroys sound and time, and through the complete destruction of sound and time, he rises above the concept of day and night. For such a one, there is no day, there is no night. He becomes one with Brahm. He becomes one with the knowledge that is full and complete in all respects, and he attains the state of anmani, the state that is above the conscious mind. And through the state of anmani, he becomes amanask. He becomes without conscious mind. Then he is no longer troubled by any thoughts of the world. This is what constitutes dhyan, what constitutes deep meditation. The abandonment or the giving up of all karma constitutes avahan, or the invocation of God. When a person is firm in the unshaken spiritual wisdom, this constitutes posture or asana. Being in the state of anmani constitutes padya, which is the offering of water for washing the feet of God. Preserving the state of amanask, when the conscious mind is offered a sacrifice, constitutes arghya, which is generally the offering of water as oblation. Being in the state of eternal brightness and immortality that has no shores or limits constitutes snan or bath. The contemplation, the thought that the Atma is present in all, that it is present in each and every one and in everything, this constitutes the application of sandal to the idol of God. When a person remains in the real state of drik, the spiritual eye, which is the state of spiritual vision, then that is worshipping with akshat, which are whole, unbroken grains of rice. The attaining of chit or higher consciousness is the worship of God with flowers. The real state of agni, or the fire of chit or higher consciousness, is dhoop, or the burning of incense. The state of the sun of chit, the higher consciousness, is the deep. It is the lit lamp that is waved before the image of God. the union of oneself with the nectar, with the immortality of the full moon, is the Kaivalya, which is the offering of food, etc., to the image of God. The immobility in the state where the ego becomes one with all. When a person becomes fixed in the state where the ego becomes one with all, that is pradakshina, going round the idol or the image of God. The conception, the thought that I am He, I am that God, I am that Brahm, is namaskar, or prostrating oneself before the image of the idol of God. The serenity, the total contentment that follows is the visatagya, or finishing the worship of God. This is how the Atma is worshipped by all Raj Yogis. He who knows this, he knows all and everything. When the Triputi are got rid of in this way, then a person becomes a Kaivalya Jyoti. He becomes without bhav, without existence. He becomes without abhav, without non-existence. He becomes full and motionless, like the ocean that is without tides or waves. He becomes like a lamp in a place with no wind, steady and non-flickering. By knowing and understanding the end of the sleeping state, even while he is in the waking state, a person becomes a Brahmavid, a knower of Brahm, a person with the knowledge of Brahm. Though it is the same mind of a person that is absorbed both in the state of deep sleep or sushupti and in the state of samadhi, the state of forgetting oneself in dhyan or deep meditation, yet there is a considerable difference between the two states. When a person is in sushupti or the state of deep sleep, the mind is then absorbed in tamas. It is absorbed in the darkness of ignorance, and so it does not become a means of salvation. But in the state of samadhi, which is the state of deep meditation, where a person forgets himself, tamas and all the modifications of tamas in a person are completely uprooted and thrown away. There, the mind raises itself to the nature of the partless Brahm, the Brahm that has no parts, the Brahm that is whole and complete in all respects and which cannot be divided into parts. All that is no other but the Sakshi Chaitanya. But the Sakshi Chaitanya, which is the consciousness of wisdom, which is the consciousness of the higher self or the higher Atma into which the whole universe is absorbed. Thus, the mind in Samadhi leads one to salvation or moksha. The universe as we see it is in any case only a delusion. It is just a creation of the mind, and therefore it is not different from the mind. Though the universe appears to be outside the mind, it seems to be outside the mind, still it is unreal. The person who knows Brahm and who is the sole enjoyer of the everlasting and eternal bliss of Brahm, which has dawned in him once and for all, such a person becomes one with Brahm. A person in whom Sankalpa resolve has been completely destroyed, such a person has got mukti or salvation in the palm of his hand. Mukti or salvation is easily within his grasp. Therefore, through the contemplation of the Param Atma, one becomes an emancipated person. He gives up both bhav, existence, and abhav, non-existence, and he becomes a jivan mukt. He becomes a free soul. He becomes a free Atma. He leaves off again and again both. He leaves off the state of wisdom or gyan and the object of that wisdom or gyan. He leaves off meditation and the object of that meditation. He leaves off lakshya the aim, and alakshya, the non-aim. He leaves off drishya, the visible, and the adrishya, the non-visible. He leaves off reasoning, and he leaves off non-reasoning. He leaves off all these. Anyone who knows this, he becomes all and everything. Know this, Yagyavalkya, that there are 5 states in a person. The state of waking, the state of dreaming sleep, the state of dreamless deep sleep, the state of turiya, the 4th state, transcending the other 3, and turiyatit, the state transcending even the 4th state of turiya. The jeev, or the being who is nothing but the ego, that jeev gets attached to pravritti, which is the path of the world, and which has narak or hell as the particular fruit of sin or of bad actions done by him. He desires swarg or heaven as the fruit of virtuous and good actions done by him. That very person later becomes indifferent to all these, saying, I have had enough of the births which involve actions, which involve the fruits of which lead to bondage till the end of mundane existence. I am fed up of such a life. Then he pursues the path of nivritti, the path of salvation, with a view to attain emancipation and salvation. He then takes refuge in a spiritual instructor, a learned teacher, a guru, who would instruct and help him to cross this mundane existence of his. Giving up passion and everything else, he only does what he is asked to do by his teacher, by his guru. Then, having acquired the 4 sadhanas, which are the means to salvation, he attains in the middle of the lotus of his heart the reality of antar, lakshya, that is only the sat, the truth of the Lord, and he begins to recognize and recollect the bliss of Brahm that he had enjoyed when he was in the state of deep and dreamless sleep. At last, he attains the state of discrimination, thinking like this: I know I am the non-dual one only. I was in agyan. I was in ignorance for some time in the waking state, which is therefore called the Vishwa or the world. I would somehow, it would appear, involuntarily I became a tejas in the dreaming state of sleep through the reflection in that state of the affinities or the ties of the forgotten waking state. Now, however, through the disappearance of both the Vishwa and the Tejas states, I am a pragya. I am a realized person. Therefore, I am one only. I only appear as more than one on account of the difference of the state I am in and the place I am in. But there is nothing of differentiation of class besides me. Having expelled even the hint of the difference of the conception between I and that Brahm through the thought, I am that pure and secondless Brahm. I am that pure Brahm without a second. He then attains the path of salvation, which is of the nature of Par-Brahm, and after becoming one with Par-Brahm through dhyan, through the contemplation of the sun's sphere as shining within himself, he becomes ripe, he becomes fit for salvation, for moksha. Sankalp or resolve in other things are all causes of bondage of the mind, and a mind that is devoid of these becomes fit for salvation. It becomes fit for moksha. When a person possesses such a mind that is free from sankalp, resolve, etc., and when he withdraws himself from the outer world of sight and others, and in this way, keeping himself out of the odor of the universe, he looks upon all the world as the Atma. He abandons the conception of I and instead thinks I am Brahm, and he considers everything as the Atma. Through this, he becomes one who has done his duty. The yogi is one who has realized the Brahm that is whole and complete in all respects, the Brahm that is beyond the fourth stage of Turiya. All people praise such a one as Brahm, who then, becoming the object of the praise of the whole world, wanders over different countries. He places the Bindu in the Akash, in the sky of the Paramatma, and pursues the path of the partless bliss that is produced by the pure, the secondless, the stainless, the unblemished and innate yog of Amanask. He becomes an emancipated person. Then the yogi becomes immersed in the ocean of bliss. When compared to this bliss, the bliss of Indra and the others pales into insignificance. It is but very little and insignificant in comparison. Whosoever gets this bliss, he is the supreme yogi. Yes, he is the supreme yogi. This concludes the second Brahman, or the second chapter of the Upanishad, and the second part of the Upanishad. Om Shanti 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 Om.